You want to make a better quality of life for yourself. How do you do that? Decision making, better decision making. And how can you make the best decisions for yourself? Because we're making thousands of decisions every day. How can you make the best decisions for yourself if you don't know what you stand for? Am I right or am I wrong?
Morning, guys. Thanks for being here. We've got, I know some of you guys have probably been talking, but we've got a good mix of people today. So, already getting heckled. JP, some of you will know, some of you won't know. I think personally, I'm from my Insta. I'll give him a bit of an intro in a minute. But JP told me he was coming up to Leeds for a couple of days to catch up with me and come to the tennis this afternoon. And he said, while I'm up, should I speak to a couple of members of your team? And I thought it would be crazy not to take advantage of turning a couple of members of my team into as many of the team as possible, and then also kind of put it out to anyone else who wants to see him. I've known JP for probably only 4 years, but I probably feel like I've known you all my life, and I say that we don't even get too much physical time together. Oh, I've got to be careful how I say that, haven't I? Too much time in the same room together. I met JP on my podcast about 4 years ago, and I always tell this story because I find it humorous. You'll probably appreciate it more at the end of the next hour than you will at the beginning. But I mean, JP is the epitome of discipline and fitness and being on time and peak performance. And he'd been organised to come on my podcast. I was living in London at the time, and we used to record in my house. And he came, and as I'm sure some of you will come to know with me, I was there late in my own house. So JP's turned up at 10 o'clock, come out of the lift, and I'm there wearing a towel. And at the time, someone was doing meal prep for me, and they'd make me my breakfast, my lunch, and my dinner. And the day before, I'd been out for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, so I hadn't eaten any of my meal prep, but I still had them all together. So I thought, I could do with a quick snack. So I threw my breakfast, lunch, and dinner all into one bowl, stuck it in the microwave, and I'm walking around the house in a towel, eating this stuff. JP walks in, sees this guy who is obviously supposed to be ready for him immediately, eating 3 different meals in a towel, clear with no preparation whatsoever. So I gulp my food down, jump in the shower, and we go and sit down to record. And whenever it comes to recording, I always have a mental block on people's names. Now, you could be called John Smith, and I don't know if it's nerves or whatever, but I sit down, I'm always saying in my head, like, John Smith. I can't forget this name when we start recording. So JP, the JP stands for Jean-Pierre. But so I've got my notes in front of me about Jean-Pierre de Villiers. And we sit down, and I start to do the introduction. I'm thinking, shit, is it Jean-Pierre or John Paul? Jean-Pierre or John Paul? And I've asked him a couple of times, and he's obviously looking at me like, who the hell is this guy? And I'm saying, it's John Paul, yeah. It's Jean-Pierre. He goes, have you done no preparation? Do you not know who I am? I'm thinking, fucking hell, I'm late. I'm late. I'm overweight. I'm eating dirty food. I'm already getting a bollocking from my guest. So I'm saying, he says, it's Jean-Pierre. So I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry. So we sit down, and I go to record. I'd say, good morning, guys. Welcome to the Matt Haycox show. I'm sat here today with Jean-Pierre de Villiers. And he stops me. He goes, nobody calls me Jean-Pierre, my name's JP. I'm like, what the fuck have we just been arguing about then? Anyway, we went on to record. What was what was a really great hour for me. Obviously, I didn't know exactly what to expect with JP, but it was one of the most interesting conversations for me at the time, and obviously now with any of my guests. And I thought, this is a guy who's probably, I say outside, not outside my comfort zone, but outside my circle of the people I would normally talk to or spend time with. But I knew that it would be great to have him around and great to have him in my circle. So about a month later, I was going on a ski trip where I can take clients, take investors each year. And I rang JP. I said, look, I know we've barely met, and I know you probably hate me, but would you like to join me on a ski trip? He came out, and again, as you'll probably get to know over the next hour, JP had never skied before, and on the first day of being out there, I said, the beginners are going here, the intermediates are going here, the experts are there, and JP's like, oh, I'll be coming with you guys. I said, but you've never skied before. He's like, no, I've watched a couple of videos on YouTube. I'll be fine. And out he comes with us, and by the end of the week, or not even the end of the week, he's going down the red runs, going down the black runs, and put some of us kind of 10, 15 year experience scares to shame. And since then, we've spent a lot of time together. I have JP, in all kinds of different circles with me, whether it's with investors, with friends, with my daughter, just with random people. And it doesn't matter who you are from what walk of life. I've never failed to see anyone, have JP rub off on them in some kind of inspiring way. Whether it's people who want to be inspired, or people who, and I guess they're ready and open for it, or whether it's people who, you would think couldn't be any further away from inspiration, still after a couple of days from him, find themselves making life changes and new life choices. So, JP is going to be talking about motivation today, motivation for yourselves and motivation for your team. And whatever he's got to say, I guarantee it'll be the best. You're going to love listening, you're going to love learning. So please enjoy and welcome JP.
Awesome, man. Bro, I wish that was on like a massive stage with 2,000 people, because that was literally the best intro I've ever had in my life. And 100% everything Matt said was true. When I got to that flat in Soho, London, and I was approached by a PR company, everything seemed very official, and I turned up, opened the lift, and didn't know it opened up into the apartment. I was pleasantly and surprisingly shocked when I saw this guy with a little belly and a white towel saying, "All right, mate." "All right, pal," I think it was. I was like, right, let's just go from here and see what happens. And crazy, Matt, it's only been 3 years. We've become very, very good friends. We've done lots of amazing things together. We've climbed the 4th highest mountain in the world together, as obviously you know, and a lot of you probably know. And what's crazy is that Matt decided about 6 weeks before I was climbing Kilimanjaro, the tallest mountain in Africa, 4th highest mountain in the world. 6 weeks before, he went, "Oh, what are you doing?" I said, "Oh, I'm doing this money." He went, "Oh, I'd like to do that." And 6 weeks later, he was summiting Mount Kilimanjaro with me. And that's crazy. And, there's a lot of things that get people to take action, but it all comes down to motivation. And I'm going to actually share with you the science behind motivation. A lot of people say, especially out on social media, "Oh, motivation is bullshit." A lot of British people don't like the idea of motivation. "Oh, stop it with all your happy clappy nonsense." But scientifically, having studied this my entire life, or adult life, there is a lot of science behind how motivation works. And I'm going to share how it can work for you. The motivation that we have in our life is the difference between staying where we are and where we want to be. Between being unhealthy and being healthy, being poor and being rich, being disempowered to being empowered, being single to being in a healthy, happy, wholesome relationship. It's always the motivational driver or the motivational drivers. Most people talk about what they want, but they don't do what they talk about. And that frustrates the shit out of me, because I know if you're willing to have the motivation, the discipline, everything, anything that you want, I'm not saying anything in the world, but anything that you want, you can have. The sales, the results, the fitness, the health, the longevity, the energy, the happiness, the gratitude, it's all available to us. But it all requires one ingredient, and that's us. We have to do the work. In November last year, January this year, I was in Matt's apartment, and I said, "You know what? I think I'm going to move to Dubai." By February, I had a residency, bank account, ID card, everything. And Matt was like, "Man, this is what I love about you. I meet people every day since I've moved to Dubai, and they go, 'Oh, I wish I could live in Dubai. I wish I could live in Dubai.' And just blah, 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 blah." If you want to do something, just fucking do it. And I hope it's okay to use that language, because it's just my style. But you all knowing Matt, I'm sure it's absolutely okay. So I could speak to you about a lot of things. I don't know a lot about business. I'm still at 40 years old trying to figure out sales, trying to figure out marketing, trying to figure out scaling, trying to figure out management, and a lot of different areas in business. There's a lot that I don't know, but what I know is mindset. I've been studying it my whole life, even before I knew I was studying it. I am a highly motivated person. I started working at the age of 10 years old washing windows. By 11 years old, I was doing a paper round. By 12 years old, because we had lack of money in my life growing up in South Africa, I was pushing trolleys to standing out supermarkets. in the sun in South Africa, a supermarket called Pick and Pay, and I was pushing trolleys to cars for tips. By 13 years old, even though legally I wasn't allowed to do it yet, I got a job in a fruit and vegetable market. And I stood at the end of a till or at the back packing vegetables onto shelves from 13 years old till 18 years old. Why? Because I was very motivationally driven. And I didn't know what I knew today, but now I understand why I was the way that I was. And because I've conditioned myself to be highly driven, highly motivated from the age of 10, because my mom sat us down, me, my two younger siblings, Andre and Sean, saying that you're going to have to go live with someone else for a while because I can't afford to look after you boys anymore, trying to tell us that we're going to foster care, seeing my mom mold the shittiest low quality chocolate in pots into molds and taking it door to door and being proud that she could put food on the table. All of these things motivated me to start creating a better life for myself. And because by the age of 17, 18, I'd been doing this now for a long time, half a decade, it was just my nature. I became a semi-pro cyclist at 18. At 19 years old, I fell into the wrong environment. I got into partying and clubbing. So by 20 years old, 2 years later, I got on a plane on my own, first time ever on a plane, on a Boeing all the way to the UK to become a DJ. I had no experience, no guidance, no mentorship, never really had a role model as a father. My father tried to commit suicide 7 times. On the 8th time, he was successful when I was 13. I didn't have the worst life, but I had a pretty shitty life. But I took what I knew, which was this motivation and this internal driving force, and it took me to the UK. I got off at Heathrow. I thought, what the fuck have I done? Everyone looks depressed in England. It was January 31st, worst time of the year to arrive in the UK. But I just started working in a hotel and I started hustling and grinding and working. 3 years later, I was a full-time DJ international. Not in clubs, I was doing the bar scene. I did the Jewel bars, I did Heaven nightclub. And at 23 years old, at the peak of my DJ career, I DJed in Riga, Latvia, in a club called Nautilus. I stayed in a hotel called the Radisson. I had a driver pick me up at the airport, little JP, that almost went to foster care. And I got myself there without anyone's help. I also don't speak very good English, so I might get my words wrong sometimes. And at 23 years old, I'd reached what I thought was success. Because my version of success, there's many different things that motivate and drive us in life. One thing is the holes in our life, the voids. Anything that is a void in our young life, we'll do anything to avoid. So what was a big void for me was not having. I didn't have enough friends. I didn't have popularity. I didn't even have acceptance. I didn't have attention from girls. I didn't have money. I could go on and on and on. Didn't have safety, certainty, reliability. I moved around 8 times, went to 2 boarding schools, got bullied for 12 years. So my view of success based on that was success equals having. So by 23 years old, I had money. I was earning 300-400 quid a night as a DJ. I had a lot of attention from girls, more than one at the same time. Attention from guys. Every guy wanted to be me. Every girl wanted to be with me. I was, fully energized, and I was the center of attention when I was on stage. And I don't say this from an egoic point of view. I'm saying I got it all wrong. Because at the end of that night at the Nautilus Club in Riga, after having everything about me, I ended up in my hotel room and in the casino of the hotel with blue and red gambling chips, not able to use them because I couldn't even get off my bar stool. I was that fucked up. On ecstasy, I can't even remember, coke, MDMA, cigarettes, alcohol, shots. And I literally just felt worse than I'd ever felt in my entire life. And I'm not saying that all those things are bad. I still love a good party and I'm 40. It's just that was my life. That was my identity. And in that moment, when I was able to get back to my hotel room, right, I have a very deep awareness, which is why I think I'm such a good coach. I'm very incredibly self-aware. And in that moment, I just knew I got myself here decision by decision. I got on that plane, and ever since, I never came with anyone else. Decision by decision by decision by decision, I took myself on a path of destruction. And at that moment, at 23 years old, I realized, man, 10 years before now, my father took his life. And I'm not there, but if I don't change my ways, I'm well on my way. Because my father had so many bad habits, such a bad mindset, bad proximity, surrounding himself with the wrong people in the wrong environments, doing all the wrong stuff, that, success leaves clues, so does failure. And I could see the clues from my father, and I could see the patterns playing out in my own life. And I just made a decision. You know what? If I can decision by decision get my life wrong, I can decision by decision get my life right. Because I got no one else to blame for getting me here. So I went back to the UK when I was 23. And I just said, I'm going to decision by decision figure out how to get my life right. Spoke to a friend. I said, hey man, I need to change my life. He said, I'm a coach. I said, what's a coach? He said, don't worry, just come and sit with me. Let's have some conversations. And he asked me a few questions. What environment inspires you? What do you love to do? What are your habits and what do they need to be? He told me about positive self-talk. He told me about the importance of having a role model and a mentor. He wrote down a name on a piece of paper called Anthony Robbins. He said, started following this guy. Yeah? You might know him as Tony Robbins, right? The most well-known coach in the world. And I started just day by day, moment by moment, decision by decision, start applying all these, tools to my life. And by the age of 25, I was fit, happy, healthy. I was dating a 10 out of 10 Danish girl in a healthy, happy relationship. I was starting to take what I knew. I was starting to share it with my friends. Let me just tell you, man, I was on fire. Now I felt like a rock star, but it was for healthy reasons. Before, I was a rock star for all the wrong reasons. Consumption, get. The problem is you can't be getting 24 hours a day. So what about when you're in the morning on your own, at night on your own, in your room on your own? You're not going to feel that great because you're not consuming. So you have to go out and consume another line, consume another girl, consume another guy, consume another drink, consume another deal, whatever it is. And that is not sustainable. Now, after 23 to going to 25, I changed it from consumption to contribution. I spend most of my 2 years contributing to myself and not focusing on anything else outside of myself. I became my first client. And what I did was I learned a lot of tools for mastering my inner game. And slowly, when I found out something that worked, I was like, hey, Louise, you know what? I've got this thing, man. Are you feeling a bit down today? Do this. Or, oh, you want to get fit? Well, try this. This really works. And I just became very, very passionate about learning and sharing. So at 25 years old, I thought, man, oh man, if my father knew what I knew, maybe, just maybe, he'd still be around. And I thought, because of that, I'm going to dedicate my entire life to studying self-mastery. Self-mastery, physical mastery, mind mastery, environmental mastery, everything that we can do to improve the quality of our life, our service, our business. And I've never done anything else. From 25 to 41, 60, or almost 41, 16 years, this is all I have been doing. When times have got tough, I've never got another job. This is all I have done for 16 years. So please know that everything I'm going to share with you, although it is my opinion, you're more than welcome to disagree with me. I have dedicated 16 years to this work. And I've done it one-to-one with high executive clients, people in leadership positions, directors, entrepreneurs, partners, etc. I've also done it in groups like this, one to few. I've done it in one to many, spoken to 2,500 people in South Africa, 2,000 people in Dubai, etc., etc. And I've done it through 10 books. This is my 10th book now. It's on Amazon. It's called Self-Confidence. I've got a few copies here if you guys want to grab them afterwards. You can get them on Amazon for 10 quid or 15 quid or whatever. But there's some here if you want me to write a little message for you or something. And if we run out, if you give me maybe 5 minutes, my car's around the corner, I can always go and grab more for you. Or if you're at the tennis this afternoon, then please don't take a book now. Leave it for someone else unless there's one left. And I'll make sure that I give you one at the tennis. I've got about another 50 in my car. So mindset, mostly. Why? Because when you master the mind, you will master the body. I became very successful as a personal trainer because everyone else is talking about split routine workouts and fast and slow twitch muscles. And I was thinking, they don't give a fuck about that. They just want to lose weight, have more energy, feel better. So I went straight to the psychology because I had been learning from Tony Robbins, who's a master of psychology. So within 3 years, I was training celebrities, Atomic Kittens, Javine Hilton, like DC-list celebrities, right? But at that point, I realized, man, I'm not passionate about counting reps. Other people are. I know they've done it all of their life, but I don't want to be in the basement. I want to be in a boardroom working with leaders, because if I can change leaders, we can change the world. I've always been a big vision guy. So I got out of the basement, I got into the boardroom, and I started doing coaching. So I moved from coaching on this physiology, and I went to psychology. And I've been doing that ever since. I absolutely love psychology. I love studying it. I'm studying it every day, specifically performance psychology, not clinical. I'm not a therapist in any way. I'm not even a life coach, because when I'm a life coach, I always seem to attract people with life problems. Right? I'm a performance coach, and I help people change their psychology, and by teaching them psychological skills so they can perform at their best, tap into their full potential, and most importantly, right, because it's not all fluffy and positive all the time, thrive under pressure. I've been through a lot in my life. I've achieved a lot in my life. I've become a professional Thai boxer. I'm an Ironman triathlete. I've done a lot of amazing things, jumped out of planes, but I've also been through a lot of hardship, like I mentioned like I mentioned to you before, but even in my adult life. You know, I had this hitting rock bottom. I've almost faced bankruptcy. 2019, I was doing something that I love to do, which is fitness, but also raising money for charity. I've raised tens of thousands for charity, you know, nothing on comparison to Matt, but tens of thousands for different charities over the last decade. And in 2019, I was cycling across the UK, doing John O'Groats to Land's End, raising money for a client of mine and a charity that was dedicated to the death of his daughter, because she was 16 years old and she died of a brain tumor. And I couldn't sit there and not do anything. So I took the cycling challenge and I went across the UK. And on the 8th day, just going through Devon, I was hit head on by a drunk driver, 4 times over the limit, uninsured, in a stolen car, already disqualified from driving. And I was very unlucky. But it happened for me. It did not happen to me. And that is part of psychological skills, understanding that every threat, every challenge that we go through is either happening to us or for us. It is a choice. There is no good or bad stress. There is only our perception of what happens to us. So the hard thing about having that accident was my identity was always athlete, speaker, coach. Now I've got broken legs, broken arm, internal bleeding, scars, staples everywhere, heart trauma, collapsed lung. My identity was taken from me. But never for a moment did I say to myself, woe's me. And it's because I'd been studying all of these mental skills for all of my life. And actually my clients and the people close to me said, JP, obviously we're so sorry that this happened to you, but we got to be honest with you. If we thought if this was to happen to anyone, we're so glad it happened to you, because we just know you're going to turn this into something crazy, some inspirational story. And that's because I'm a person that walks my talk. Hence why Matt said what he said, and why I guess Matt chooses to hang out with me. And it's about motivation, it's about energy, it's about focus, it's about mindset. I get a lot of motivation from Matt in many different areas, and I think that we have a very good relationship because there's a very fair value exchange. There's a lot that I learn from Matt just by observing him, and there's a lot that Matt gets from me, and it's always around mindset. So I could speak to you about mindset, standards, habits, changing or optimizing your psychology in the morning, using your physiology to change your emotions, to change your motivational drivers. There's a lot that I can talk to you about, but I'm just going to speak to you about one thing, and that's motivation. Like I said before, some people believe motivation is crap, but motivation works. There was a research paper that was written on motivation and how motivation really works, the science behind motivation. And they took 300 athletes, all of similar ability and skill, 300 golfers, and they split them into 2 groups. The first group, they gave them a set of specific tasks and they asked them to perform those tasks without any instruction, intuition, any guidance or motivation. The second group, they gave them 5 motivational practices. And the overall result was that the motivated group performed 25% better than the unmotivated group. Now, you've really got to pay attention to that a lot. Why would we not want to perform 20 to 25% better than what we're already doing? It doesn't make sense. If you just apply things like motivation, visualization, goal setting, aligning yourself to your values, etc., and I'm going to be very specific after this, but using motivational tools, you can do 20 to 25% better in the gym, at home, with your family, at work, wherever you are, in whatever environment and whatever you're doing. Motivation is crucial for high performance, for getting the most out of your workout, for getting the most out of your job, your role, your business, and for getting the most out of your life. Motivated people never do their best. And even if they do their best in terms of, let's use business, right? Because we're all a team here. Matt externally motivates you, or Steph, or whoever's in a leadership position, they externally motivate you, but intrinsically you're not motivated. You will go and get the result, but you will do it in the quickest, easiest way possible because you're motivated by them to get the result, but because you don't really care about it, you will make a shortcut and you will try and do it as easy as possible. You'll skip this, you'll leave that out, and you'll not do it to the best of your ability. People that are motivated do everything to their best. And there's 3 psychological needs for us to feel motivation and to be motivated. The first one, and I hate talking about this stuff that I've learned for 16 years and there's no one taking notes, but I guess we didn't tell you to take notes or have no paper. But lucky for you, what I'm discussing, or most of what I'm discussing, is in that book. And I'm not selling it to you, it's just there as a gift. The first psychological need for motivation is autonomy. Does anyone understand what that means? Just shout it out.
Yeah, letting you find your own way.
Find your own way, yeah, correct. Other ways of saying it?
Self-sufficiency.
Not all at once, yeah, self-sufficiency, yeah.
Path.
Hey?
Path. The path.
Yeah, so knowing the path, is that what you mean? Yeah, cool. Yeah, so it's your choice. Autonomy is when you feel it's your choice. There's a saying in, I said I didn't master sales and marketing yet, but damn, do I study it. And there's the sales in sales and marketing that you've always got to leave your customer in choice. Because if you make them feel like it's not their choice, they don't feel motivated to buy. There needs to be choice, there needs to be option. When you force a child to do something, do they do it? Or when you try to force them, right? The goal with anyone is to leave them feeling in choice. So when you're trying to motivate someone else, you've got to make them feel like this is their decision, not yours. Because if we feel forced, we rebel. All humans want to live an autonomous life. We need autonomous support for ourselves and our own goals and for our team. What does that mean? It means inspiration. It means positive influence. It means positive affirmation. Specifically, I would say it's these 4 things. To feel autonomous and motivated towards your own goals, 1, you've got to have a vision. 2, and in no order of importance, 2, you've got to have values. You've got to know, what do I value? And is it in line with my goal and what I'm motivated to move towards? 3, you've got to have a mission. What is my mission? How am I achieving this goal? It could be, simply put, your role that you are currently in. That's your mission. I achieve this, my vision, which is in alignment with my values, what it will give me, the vision, and I do it by ... here's my role. And then 4, you need purpose. Why? Why am I doing this? You guys know, if you're not clear on why you're doing something, are you ever going to be motivated to do it? Yes or no? Yes, sometimes I've been exercising my whole life, except for like 20 to 23, right? When all I did was DJ and party. I literally did no exercise for those 3 years. But I've been moving my entire life. And even today, sometimes, I'm like, I cannot be asked. I cannot be asked to work out today. I feel tired, I feel stiff, I feel lazy, I've got a lot of other things I need to do, right? What is happening there? I have a lack of motivation. My motivation is down. All I need to do is tap into what would make me feel autonomous. What would make me want to do this? And it's very, very easy for me. Let's use an example that is in the room. I'm not thinking this when I'm thinking of going to the gym, but so you guys can relate to this and in a way that it's connected to your life. I'm thinking going to the gym or working out or not working out. What is more inspirational for inspiring my friend? What's more inspirational for inspiring a room full of people? Oh, it's going to the gym. Just if I ask myself that question, I'm done. My shoes are on, I'm heading to the gym. But if we only think about the gym, look, unless you're this guy over here, right? Yeah, generally most people are not motivated to work out. But your motivational drivers are what get you to take action. Now, very, very important. You've got to understand the difference between internal motivation and external motivation. External motivation works. It could be pride, ego. It could be people praising you for, achieving your goals. It could be the media. It could be your peers. But any external motivation is not sustainable because your environment changes, the people change, your age changes, your job changes. The only sustainable motivation where you feel motivated all the time is internal. And external motivation, very important, can decrease well-being because I've always got to, let's just keep it simple, I've always got to prove myself, I've always got to keep performing for this reason, I've got to keep showing these people or this person how I am, or I've got to keep going to this course or this seminar. External motivation decreases overall wellness and well-being. Internal motivation increases well-being. External motivation can create obsessive passion. Internal motivation can increase harmonious passion. Because when you're internally motivated, you just want to be your goals. You want to be your vision. You want to live your values and your purpose. Does this make sense? Yeah, so first of all, autonomy. Right, now, how do we increase our autonomy? How do we become autonomous? Number one, know your values. Know what you stand for in your life and know what you want to stand for. And remind yourself of it every day. Some of my clients, right, they pay ridiculous amounts of money to work with me. And as soon as they hop on a Zoom call, they'll be like, hey, JP, and I'll literally say, what's your values? And sometimes they go, oh, fuck, you got me. And I'm like, come on, man, you're investing time, energy, money, you're wasting my time. You want to make a better quality of life for yourself. How do you do that? Decision making, better decision making. And how can you make the best decisions for yourself? Because we're making thousands of decisions every day. How can you make the best decisions for yourself if you don't know what you stand for? Am I right or am I wrong? If you don't know in every moment, this is what I stand for, this is what I stand for, that is the difference between buying in a shop a healthy meal and buying a chocolate bar. It's the difference between saying when you're saying, you know what, I need good rest tonight, and everyone says, oh, hey, come out for a drink, and you saying it's the difference in you going and then going the next day, oh, fucking idiot, versus thank you, but no thank you. Knowing what we value and what we stand for makes the difference in our decision making, and the quality of our life and everything in our life comes down to the decisions that we make in every moment. I think Tony Robbins says something like this, our destiny is defined in the moments of our decisions. So knowing your values is not some fluffy personal development exercise, it is everything. I said to a client just last week when I got back to the UK, I said, after 40 years of living and 16 years of coaching, I think everything that I do in my life and career comes down to getting people to live in their values. Because I've worked with very successful people with I'm giving an example of one client, a £60 million fund of his own money, lives in a castle, drives an Aston Martin, and is incredibly unhappy. What was the answer for him? It was to get him to elicit and understand what he values and to move into that space. I've worked with a former pro Red Bull skateboarder, 19 years old, on crystal meth. What was his problem? He was close to depression and suicide. Why? Because he wasn't happy. How could I make it happy? Remind him of what his values were. I reminded him that he had always loved fitness, and I got him back into fitness. I got him off crystal meth and dealing crystal meth after being fired from Red Bull for, I'm not going to go into the reasons, but I got him just going to the gym every day. Just do that. But remember, it's because you love fitness. It's not about going to the gym. Fitness is very rarely about fitness. It is a path, it is a vehicle to give you the energy, the certainty for whatever it is that you want to have in your life. And he wanted more happiness, and he knew that fitness made him happy. Anyway, 2 years later, he became a very well-known personal trainer. So you've got to know what your values are. That's how we become autonomous. Know what your values are. And then number two, right, where are my values taking me? What's the vision? You know, everyone here in this room is in a position of some kind. In multiple positions, position in your job, position in your relationship, position in your life, right? So what is the point of you being there? One of my mentors once said to me, a great phrase, how do you want it to end? If you don't know how you want it to end, how you want your role, your progression, you know, or your business to end, how are you ever going to be motivated to get up there every day and do the very best, you know, the very best that you can? It's impossible. You know, I know the vision for my life and my career. The vehicle changes all the time. I've changed it so many times because I'm so committed to growth and personal development. But the vision is very, very clear, and which is why I never get stuck in woe's me. You know, Matt knows I've been facing some challenges recently. Probably that most people would, I don't know, turn to drugs, drink, and all these things. But I've just been, yeah, shit sucks. Shit sucks. I've got to go through this thing. But every single day, I still stay on my mission. I still stay training. I still stay meditating because I know what my vision is. I know what my values are. So I could go on and on about autonomy. But because of time, I've got to move on to the next thing. To have motivation, you've got to have competence, a feeling of competence. And this is why things like AA and NA, Alcoholics Anonymous and Narcotics Anonymous, this is why they work so well. Because they give people the actual steps to make changes and to be motivated to change their life in these environments. What's it called in AA? The what? The 12 steps, right? The 12 steps, it's very clear. Right? These are the 12 steps. If people don't know how to change, they will not change, which is why it's my obsession to keep teaching this stuff. If you don't want to hear me speak, if you don't like my style, you can read my books. I fucking hate reading. Sorry, I hate writing so much, but I write these books because I know some people prefer reading to listening to speakers and speaking and going to events, etc. But you've got to know how to change, which is why personal development, business development, continuous, never-ending learning is crucial for tapping into your full potential, living your best life, getting the most out of your career, your business, because you only know what you know. And if you don't feel like you are where you are in your life, let's say we all came from here. You are where you are because of everything you've learned. If you knew more, you wouldn't be here. Am I correct? So you need to keep learning. But to motivate others, we've got to make sure that we're not only making people feel autonomous, like, hey, this is, what's your name, sir?
Dean.
Dean. If I want Dean to change or perform better, I can't just tell him, oh, you've got to do it. This is, you know, and put a, oh, here's your reward. I'll take you to Ibiza for a week. That's not good. Yeah, he'll take that. But then what after Ibiza? Yeah. Now I've got to motivate you again. Yeah. And then I've got to motivate you again. It's not sustainable. These models work, but they're not sustainable. So you have to keep creating these external motivators. But if I can get him to be internally motivated to want to change, that's not enough. I've got to show him how to change. And sometimes it's not, oh, here's a book. Sometimes it's, look, let's do it together. You know, 1 step, 2 step, 3 step, 4 step, which once again works so well for these AA, you know, these communities. I don't know what they call there. Rehabilitation communities, right? It's taking people on a path. And obviously I do that with my coaching, whether one-to-one or my programs or whatever. So do you feel competent enough to make the changes? Let's use fitness. That's Berno. Let's use fitness as an example. Why will personal trainers always be around? Right? Because people want to change, but they don't know how. They'll never disappear. Whether they go online or offline or whatever, personal trainers will always be there. Coaches will always be there. How many of the top performing athletes in the world have coaches? Give me a percent, shout it out. All of them. All of them. Every single top performing athlete has a coach. I'd even go as far as say, and I don't know this for sure, but it's my opinion, the highest performers in business all have mentors / people giving them guidance. Right? One of my mentors once said to me, if you're doing it alone, you're doing it wrong. Because you need someone to guide you. Everyone in my life is in my life for a reason. There's a fair value of exchange of some kind. And because I'm so obsessed with growth, generally speaking, I surround myself with people that give me more competence. Not just the steps, but the belief in myself. And it's very important to remember that as human beings, sometimes we lack belief. Especially if we're going from this level to this level to this level, we keep growing. You might have confidence and belief with yourself at 6 figures. Let's use money because it's an easy example. Or 5 figures. But you might lose that confidence at 6 figures or 7 figures or 8 figures. So you've got to get around 8-figure, 9-figure, 10-figure people. Because when you don't believe in yourself, it's okay. As long as you're around people that you can borrow their belief in you. Does that make sense? Right? So for me to grow into a better version of myself, especially in business, it's easy for me to believe in myself when I'm around people that believe in me. It gives me more competence. It gives me more faith that I can actually go and achieve this thing that I want to achieve. And then the last step, the last psychological human need. Understand these are not wants, these are not ideas, these are scientifically proven psychological needs. For you to have motivation or to give motivation to someone else is you need to have relatedness. As in connection, understanding. If we are highly driven by our why and we have autonomy, we want to change, we know how to change, but we feel very, very alone in our efforts, or like our environment doesn't support us, our environment is not challenging, pushing us, you can lose motivation. Does that make sense? You can easily lose motivation because we need to have relatedness. Once again, I'm going to go back to AA and NA, right? You're all in a circle every day. So it's, we're in this together, which is why, teamwork and team leadership and coaching teams is so incredibly important. So you feel like you're doing things together. When we feel like we're alone, we feel demotivated. When we feel like we're in something together, we feel highly motivated, which is how religions work, which is how clans work, which is how tribes work. We are stronger together. So whatever your goals are, I'm going to use sales as an example because once again, it's easily relatable. If you want to be a high-performing salesperson, don't hang around medium-performing salespeople. I understand you have to in your environment, and obviously you can relate this to other areas of your life. But if I want to be a high-performing salesperson, actually, let me use my life. Like I said, I knew this stuff even before I knew it. When I was a personal trainer, all the new personal trainers in the gym would hang out with each other and they would, take lots of breaks because they had 1 client, then 2 clients, then 3 clients. I don't know why I understood it. I guess because this is what I was always meant to do. What I did on the first day of personal training is I hung out with the top performing personal trainers. I went around and I said, who's the top performing trainer? And I asked them, how much do you earn? And they said, 100 grand, 110 grand. And I thought, fucking hell, if that's possible, that's what I'm aiming towards. All of my attention, I'll never forget, his name was Sean Hayden, he was a Gymbox Holborn in London, and he told me 110 grand. And he was so busy, no one ever spoke to him. I made Sean my best friend. We became friends for years. We partied together, we played together, we traveled together, we trained together. He was a professional kickboxer. But I went and I put myself around him because I was like, I want to be like that. I don't want to be one of these PTs that every bloody month is, fucking bloody economy. And I wanted to be like Sean. And then I wanted to be like Tony Robbins. And then I wanted to be like Wayne Dyer, a spiritual teacher. I'm always going towards the people and the environments that I want to be more like. And it's not about being them or inspiring to be them. It's inspiring to be like them. What are the things about other people that you like and that you'd like to have yourself? Does that make sense? So, relatedness. Last example. Whenever I work with sales teams, I don't know why, I've never seeked them out, but I work with a lot of recruitment teams. I've done it in Germany, Dubai, UK, US, East Coast, West Coast. And I always say the same thing. Who's the highest belly here? Someone puts up their hand. And I said, right, who is really struggling with their current targets right now? 3, 4 people stick up their hand, 5 people maybe. And I'll say, in the last 30 days, how many of you took him for lunch? Or offered to buy him dinner? Or took him for a coffee? And not one person has ever put up their hand. And that's not a judgment, but it's success and failure leaves clues. There is a reason why. You are a low performer and you are a high performer because he has certain ingredients or she has certain ingredients that she puts into a mixing bowl every day and you're not willing to learn what those ingredients are. So this is why I always put myself in environments that inspire me, that challenge me, that make me feel afraid, fearful, so I can grow into that environment. What do you value? What's the vision for your life? Remind yourself of that every day. Learn, study, grow, and surround yourself with people that believe in you so that you increase your competence on a daily basis. So you can become more effective and more inspired, more influential. And then ask yourself, do the people around me relate to me, or do I need to change the people in my life? Do I need to not change who's in my life, or do I need to go seek out people that are actually gonna motivate me more? Look, like Matt said, when people meet me, generally speaking, a lot of people don't actually like me, but when people meet me, generally speaking, I rub off in them in some way. I spoke at one of the top nutrition companies in Europe, but definitely in the UK, yesterday at their office. I spoke for them 6 months ago, and I did a 45-minute talk. Didn't speak to anyone individually. 45-minute talk on habits. Boom. Left. Got there yesterday, said, hey, how you guys doing? One of the ladies shared, she said, you know what? Ever since you spoke to us last time, I've drank a minimum of 2 liters of water every single day. All I did was motivate her to feel that she can. Why would she want to? Why? Because your body is 80% water. If you're not hydrated, you're going to suffer. You're going to lack energy. You're going to lack certainty, belief, confidence. I showed her that it's very easy. 2 liters, that's all you have to do. 2 liters, here's the number, here's the measure. And I obviously produced energy showing up in the room. So she was like, well, I want some of that. So we can be motivated to do anything, whether it's drink water, build a business, be successful in our role. But you've got to understand that it always takes you, and that you can never expect other people to motivate you. And even if you are lucky enough to have other people motivate you, I'm telling you now, it will not last. And when that external motivation, that injection, that force from the outside stops and you feel demotivated, you will go find a way to feel good, and it won't always be good, because inside you'll not have the motivation to perform at your best. Does that make sense? Yeah, so like I said, I can share a lot, but just this one thing is the thing that I chose to share with you guys today, because, well, who doesn't want to be motivated? Who here, show of hands, doesn't want to be motivated? And who here, seriously, would not like to have the ability to motivate people around you? Who here? Oh, no? Oh, yeah. I think you misunderstood. You went like that. So this is how you motivate other people. Right? This is how you motivate yourself, and you keep yourself motivated and driven. Just make people inspired. Make people inspired to change. Don't tell them to change. That is controlled motivation. People are not inspired by controlled. It's got to feel like it's their choice. If you want people to be inspired in work, create an inspirational work environment. Not just by the walls and the whatever you put in the office, but as a leader walking into an office and making people want to be better as a result of the way you choose to show up. Learn, grow, and as you learn and grow, give everything that you learn and everything that you've become, share it with other people. Increase people's competence. Allow them to feel that, hey, I can do this too, and show them the path. And then 3, make sure that what people want to be, make sure that you reflect that and that you resonate at the same frequency. Otherwise, they'll think, you're not in, we have different goals, we have different values. I'm doing my own thing, you do your own thing. You've got to feel like we're in it together. So I've got to stop talking. I could keep going on, but I think what we're going to do now is Matt said he wanted me to do a Q&A. But what I suggested is for Matt and myself to sit up here and for you guys to ask us any questions, anything about our friendship, anything about motivation. Maybe you want to ask Matt what motivates him or what his values are. And of course, you can ask me any questions that you want. So guys, great to meet you. Great to see some of you. And for those of you going this afternoon, I look forward to connecting with you further. Matt, do you want to come up here?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Should we get 2 chairs?
Now, can you all appreciate how pissed off he must have been to have seen me in my to have seen me in my towel?
So, just any questions about anything? How long do we? Oh, I have like 10 minutes max.
Well, you're parking tower.
Yeah.
I know no one ever likes to speak first in these things, but I can't overemphasize enough. I mean, I'm sure you've all loved listening to JP, but the value that I always get from, I guess, being able to personally contextualize my questions, from whether it's someone like JP or anyone at events like this is immeasurable. So don't be shy. It's not at school.
Here's an example. Every time we get together, we always film content, or if we can, we film. And last time I went to Dubai, I was like, because once again, competence, right? I'm always looking to grow. I'm always looking to increase my knowledge. So I was thinking, what do I want to ask Matt when I get to Dubai? This is like January or February. One of the questions I asked him is, I really want to know what motivates you. And we had a whole conversation about that, and Matt recorded it. So yeah, any questions? Steph?
So we go way back, and obviously, we've been through a lot of stuff business-wise together, but you've obviously pulled yourself in different directions, and so what motivated you at that point to go to where you are now, and the journey that you've got on along the way? Because you've been through a lot of
whenever I get asked a question about, let's say, what motivated me at like my darkest times, I presume we're referring to bankruptcy times, and I'm sure you all do know. But I mean, when I was made bankrupt back in 2008, both from a business perspective and a corporate perspective, and I always get asked a question about how did you pull yourself up at that time, and I always feel that I have the most boring, non-soundbitey answer, because I think people expect like a really motivational speech about all the things I did and how I dug deep at my darkest moments and looked at this. But I guess I've always found that the commitment and the need to do something for me has been more powerful than the motivation. And the day I was made bankrupt, it's like I went to bed one day and I woke up the next day, and I could have sat there wallowing in self-pity, but I had a 1-year-old kid and a wife at the time. And I always say I had them that I needed to put food on the table for, and I knew that I wasn't born to be poor. And I had 2 choices. I can sit at home and watch watch TV all day, and listen to the people who told me that my life was over and my career was over because I was reputationally savaged and no one would go near me. Or I could say, well, maybe that's true. Maybe that's true in the short term, but I've got no choice but to get out there and make and try and make some money again. And for me, that's always been. It's not that it's been my motivation. It's just been that I've had end results I've wanted to achieve, and I guess I've put the desire to achieve the results ahead of any hardships in the way. And I've always found a good motivator for me has always been the fear of failure than the desire for success, if you like. When JP and I climbed Kilimanjaro, like he said earlier on, there was plenty of times I could have given up. And having gone up there, I'd raised quite a lot of money for charity prior that we were going to do for it, and there've been quite a few people that told me that I was never going to make it to the top. And and for the first kind of 5 days of doing it, anytime I was pissed off and thinking, oh God, I want to go home, I'm thinking, no, I can't go home. There's 25, 30 grand or whatever of people who've put their hand in the pocket for charitable donations. I've got to do this for them. I can't go home. And then on the last day, the actual summit itself was the most unbelievably horrific experience of my life.
Me too.
and it was supposed to be six hours of torture, and it was 9 hours of undescribable torture. And
It was like hell on earth.
So again,
It was like
it was
hell on earth.
hell on earth, and I was, I was coughing, I was puking, I was crying, I was crawling, and I got to the point where I say, you know what, fuck it. I'll pay all the charity people back myself. I am turning back. And then I thought, no, Paul Snook told me I couldn't get up to the top of this mountain. and for me, I had two things. I thought, one, I thought there was no way I could let Paul Snook have the satisfaction of knowing I didn't get to the top of the mountain. And then I also thought I don't want Harley to anyone's ever to be able to say to Harley that your dad was the guy who didn't get up the mountain, because I thought she probably gets she's getting to the age where she probably gets a bit of a ribbing at school as it is for some of the stuff I do. I thought, well, that is what it is. I can't change that. But the one thing I can change is that no one will ever be able to take the piss out of the fact that her dad never got to the top of the Kilimanjaro. So they're I guess my motive. You just need to find what it is that works for you. Is all I can say. It's not eloquently put like JP would, but it is what it is. If you want to do something, you just got to do it.
Well, I'll try and summarize it eloquently. That is actually a very powerful psychological skill that Matt has as his nature, and it's called attention control. And it's something that I talk about in my book. This is actually something that's practiced in psychology with athletes and high-performing business people, is getting them to understand that you've got to be very conscious about where you put your attention. And even if it means, saying, oh, I'm going to prove them wrong, or, I'm going to focus on wealth because I don't believe I was born to be poor or something. We always have a choice. We always have a choice. You cannot control the economy, the government. We've tried, right? It doesn't work. You cannot control COVID, but what you can always control in any moment of your day, regardless of your circumstances, is where you choose to put your attention. And if you've ever played sport, tennis, for example, right? Where you put your attention determines where the ball goes. It's that simple. Where you put your attention in golf determines where the ball goes. Where you put your attention in soccer, where you put your attention always determines the outcome. So you have a choice to say, oh, woe's me, and that's going to determine a certain outcome, or to say, fuck it, I'm going to show up anyway. Yeah, it's a great question.
JP, that was an unbelievable share.
Thanks, man.
It was.
I look forward to connecting with you more.
I can relate to a lot of that. With what I've experienced to motivate me in dark times, you were saying you're always looking forward. So, you're learning stuff without knowing you're learning. Do you know when you got to them points, how much of a strong component was the element of fear to motivate you to move forward? So saying the upbringing that you've got.
Yeah.
I've been very, very blessed with the most perfect upbringing. Sometimes a bit detrimental to how I perceive life in the later years. But what's been apparent, and it is in probably business, but more so my personal side, was the strongest component for me to move forward is fear of going back. Because it's easy to fall back. It's very hard to move forward. Is that a strong thing that fueled you with the South Africa thing, the father thing? Did you ever... I got you.
Did
you ever throw that, do you ever sweep it under the carpet and think, right, that's done? Or did you ever sort of like turn back to it and think, right, on days where you're finding it hard to reach that point, did you look back there and think, right, that fear of going back there is going to propel me to be even further away from them bad times?
Yeah,
Did you utilize that?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, so fully understand. The answer is yes. For a large part of my life, I was driven by, I don't want to end up like my father. But once again, to throw it back to attention control and motivation and values and vision, if we focus on don't want to be like this, don't want to be like this, don't want to be like this, the brain doesn't latch on to negatives or positives. It only latches on to pictures. So if you're saying, I don't want to be like my past, don't want to be like my past, don't want to be like my past, the program that you're continuously running is your past. So it's not healthy, it's not sustainable, it's destructive. But if you say, I don't want to be like my father, like taking my life at 40, Oopsie, sorry, that's a reminder from my car. I'll push it right to the edge.
I'll sort that out if you get a ticket, don't worry.
All right.
That's what
Yeah, so for me, for a large part of my life, I had fear that I will not make it to 40. Because my father spent 10 years saying, I don't want to live beyond 40, I don't want to live beyond 40, I don't want to live beyond 40. And at 40, he fucking took his life, gassed himself on the beach in his car. He said, I'm done. So even though I've been, highly driven and done all these amazing things, there was always this underlining feeling of, will I end up like my dad? But if we focus on that, we're going to feel our past, we're going to attract more of our past. So it was always there, but go back to attention control, I said, okay, it's good to know that, but what is the opposite of that? So for me, it was, look, I wish I could say I'm wealthy, I'm not. But I was the opposite of my father on the 27th of July last year when I turned 40. I made more money that month than I'd ever made, 163,000 as a coach. I won't forget it because it was a fucking life goal of mine. I was super fit, super healthy, had an amazing wife, we're now getting divorced. But anyway, on the 27th of July when I turned 40, I was the complete opposite of my father. Why? Because I wasn't focused on ending like my father, ending like my father. It was there and it drove me, but it wasn't my primary motivational driver. My primary motivational driver was, what is the opposite? And let me become that. And that is healthy, wealthy, and happy. And that's what I focused on all the time. Because if we focus on pain, we get more pain. But you can definitely leverage pain as a driving force. And people often ask me, oh, do you have to have, because I do a lot of speaking, right? I have done for 10 years. Do you have to have this painful story? No, but it helps. It helps, because what drives change and transformation is not mechanics. It's not skill, it's psychology every single time. There's a reason why there's all the skill and the information available in the world, but only some people are really good at sport, are really good at business, or the best at football, or the best in business, or the best investing. Why? Because skill is not enough. Skill is not enough, information is not enough, it's psychology. And in psychology, what gets us to be continuously driven is what's called the pain-pleasure principle. And once again, this feeds into motivation. But what is the pleasure of achieving our goal? And what is the pain of not achieving our goal? And that could be, you don't want to go back to your past. It could be, I don't want to end up like my father. And it could be, I don't want to be fucking poor. But you can use both. And some people use more pain than pleasure. And some people use more pleasure than pain. But it's up to you. It's whatever works for you. A great question.
I don't know if I worded this question very well, but first of all, thanks for sharing this one. One of the things that sort of drew me to Matt and Matt's story and got me following on social media is the fact that Matt had done really well and then lost stuff and had to start again and stuff like that. And I kind of feel as though that's something I can relate to. But yeah. Can I ask? I've had some health problems at the start of this year. I had a stroke, which has been had a knock-on effect in terms of fatigue and stuff, and things that I've never faced before in my life. So trying to do something when you've got no experience of it, I've found really hard, because having my own business previously, it's always been me that's motivated other people, and now I'm at a point, feels like for the first time in my life, where I'm having to dig deeper than I have before to find some motivation for myself. When you had your accident, did you find, because I've felt really demotivated the last 6 months since having this stroke, and whilst I'm making a decent recovery, fatigue is something I've really struggled with, and I've never struggled with that before. And the relationship between the physical side of things and the limitations that I've found that again are new to me. And then up here, do you know what I mean? The relation between the physical and the mental sort of aspect, I've really struggled with that, because I want to be more motivated than I am. I want to do more than I am, and then my body seems to switch off. I wondered when you had your accident and went for it, not that I've ever been, as you can see, an elite athlete, but when you went from being as physically fit as you were to then having broken bones left, right and centre, did you find that the relationship between the physical side and the mental side was it?
So, great question. So two different answers. One, When you're not able to be the person you've always been, it can create a lot of internal suffering. And I chose to get support. I got a counselor, and I had a counselor for a year. So I'd highly recommend that. Once again, to go back to that phrase from one of my mentors, if you're doing it alone, you're doing it wrong. As in, if you're doing your suffering alone, you're doing it wrong. Get help. And secondly, when it comes to focusing on a task, like wanting to get stuff done or wanting to have more energy, for example, right? Self-confidence, which is what my book mainly is about, is general. It's a general term, confidence in self. But then there's a term called self-efficacy, which is more task-related. So self-efficacy could be, do you have the efficacy, I can never say this word, do you have the efficacy and the ability to go out there and perform these 10 things today? And there's 4 things that you need to have to increase your self-efficacy. Let's just call it self-confidence, because they work for self-confidence too. Number 1 is putting out mastery experiences or performance achievements. So for example, anything that you can tick in a box. When I was in hospital, not able to do anything, I'd been moved from Derriford Trauma Hospital, intensive care. I put in Coventry Hospital, and I was there for about a month or so. There's a lot that I couldn't do. So to make myself feel confident, I created a mastery experience. And the first mastery experience I did was to lift my left leg 5 times and my right leg 5 times, right? It seems insignificant, but every decision that we make, we're programming our psychology. So every single day in my recovery, every single day, I did one teeny little thing. And I always say this, it's not about the thing, it's the thing about the thing. I would celebrate the fact that I could lift my legs 5 times. And I was exhausted. I mean, if I remember correctly, I'd fall asleep. Then eventually it got to the point where I would ask for the rails to be lifted on the side of my bed. And I would grab the rail and I would pull myself up, not even able to do 90 degrees, as far as I could, and pull myself down. Pull myself up, pull myself down. What I'm saying is that's all the energy I had, but I would celebrate that. And when I stood up for the first time, sat up for the first time, walked for the first time, climbed my first step, over a month, I celebrated every single moment, because I knew already that what I was doing was I was writing a new program of I can. Whereas we can easily say, I can't, because of the situation that we're in. But what we don't realize is we're actually writing a program that's now going to be playing out like a movie every day in our life. And many people will say to me, JP, how did you recover so fast? I went to the orthopedic surgeon after my second checkup. He said, I don't know what to tell you. I don't need to see you again. You are fully recovered. I have no reason to see you. It's because every single day I did this little performance achievements thing. And it's not just about the physical, it wasn't just about the physical recovery, right? All words carry frequency. And everything that we think about, we create. In our life, internal and external, it's just a result of our thoughts. While we can create, is it fair to say you can create disease through your thoughts? You can create discomfort through your thoughts, unwellness, etc. And that's what I did. So self-efficacy, to give yourself a confidence that's task-related. Number 1, just try and achieve any goal. It could be drink a glass of water. It could be anything. It's not about the thing. It's the thing about the thing. And then there's other things in self-efficacy like vicarious experiences. Watch things that inspire you. Get around people that inspire you. There's verbal persuasion. Make sure that you're using the positive self-talk. And then there's physiological states as well, and making sure that you're in the right physical state to go out and achieve whatever it is that you want to achieve, even if it's the bare minimum. But if you're in a low physiological state, no one has ever felt motivated from this position. No one. You've got to put yourself in the physiological state to believe and have the energy and attention and everything that you need to achieve. And that is why for the rest of my fucking life, I will bang on about fitness. Because fitness is not about fitness. It's about everything else. The certainty, the energy, the physiological states, the emotional states. You can't do anything in life without energy. You cannot. It's impossible. You've just said that. After my accident, I had no energy. right? There's a lot that I couldn't do, but there's things that I could do, and I focus just on those things. And whatever you focus on expands. Whatever you focus on expands. So if you can only do 5% of what your potential is, do that 5%. But it's not about the things that you do, it's the feeling that you create. And the feeling that you want is I can. Everything that we do in our life should be revolving around I can. Because that idea of you can, practice long enough, becomes a belief. And after a long time, a belief becomes a conviction and an identity. Right? We get good at whatever we practice. Sorry, this is going on a bit long, but it's good stuff. Everything that we practice over time eventually becomes our identity. It doesn't matter if it's good or bad. You say, I can. If you do things in your life that are in alignment with achievement, you will get to a point where you don't need to have people motivate you, because your identity is, I can. This is who I am. It's my identity. But the opposite is also true. If you say, I can't, it's just an idea today. But if you say I can't for a year, it'll become a deep-rooted belief, or 2 years or 3 years, and eventually it'll become your identity. And if it becomes your identity, it's very, very difficult to change. Even if people motivate you, because you believe this is who I am. And this is why people take their fucking life, excuse my language. Because they've practiced something for too long, even if it's not their fault. My father, his own mother abandoned him when he was 5 years old and put him in an orphanage. His real mother, so she could move from South Africa to the UK because she got remarried. And his younger brother. Right? But he practiced all the wrong things. And as a result of that, he took these ideas that he wasn't good enough, created at 5 years old, he practiced that and eventually became his identity. And he believed, I am not good enough, I am not worthy, I am not loved. And therefore, if we don't, one more thing, if our identity is not what we like, you need to change it immediately by taking small steps. You need to change it immediately, because what happens is when people take their life, I'm going a little bit of subject here, but I'm really passionate about this, and hopefully this helps someone in your life. If you practice something too long, it becomes your identity. And when you aren't able to identify, that's the car guard kicking my car. If you're not able to identify the difference between this is an emotion versus this is my identity, the only way to kill the emotion is to kill yourself. Does that make sense? That's why people commit suicide, is because they've experienced an emotion for too long, or a belief for too long, that it's become their I am. And then they can't understand. We say, oh, we can't understand why some people would take their life. It's not because of their feeling, it's because they believe they are the feeling. Anyway, so I've gone off on a tangent there, but I hope that was useful to some people. And it should be useful, because suicide is out of control. Yeah, so
cool.
Anyway.
Well, I'm conscious of time for us all, really.
Are you okay if I ask Matt one question? Have you guys got time? One more question?
It's really, yeah. My car's on the meter.
So, thanks for having me.
Thank you for coming.
I really appreciate it, dude. And I really love everything that we do. And, I often say this, success is amazing, but if you're not doing something that's making a difference in the world, what's the point? I would love to know, because I don't know, what is your vision?
In general?
In life. What is the point of everything that you do? What is the vision for your life, for your business, your legacy?
Like you were saying earlier, that some of the things that now, you've always done them. Even though before you knew how to understand them, or you knew what they were, you just kind of knew they were your purpose. And I think whatever I'm doing, whether it's business related, financially related, or anything else, I just always love being happy. I know it's very, very cliched, but and a lot of you guys who do work with me and know that it's very, very rare that I'm in a bad mood. No matter how shitty things are around me, and I don't think that's because you know, I've got this fantastic ability to motivate myself, or this, you know, or this great sense of putting on a smile when you know, I really should be frowning. I just really do love life. You know, whether it's a bad day or a good day, or, you know, I've made a bit of money or I've made a lot of money, and something you know, we talked about, and I forget how we got to it, was, you know, like about material goals and things, and it's something I've understood a lot more lately, because I think when I was younger and you asked me like what my vision was, or
it was what motivates you,
or what motivates me, I always used to talk about, you know, specific financial things, you know, and I think, you know, as a kid it was always like, you know, I want a Ferrari, I want a big house, I want this, and when I started to get the things, you realise very quickly that those things in isolation are actually of very little interest. And I know you might think it's easy for me to say because I've got them, and you might say, oh, because you haven't got them, you might be thinking, well, that's, you know, easy for you to say because you have got them. But I guarantee you, if all the other stuff around you isn't ticking all the boxes, then those specific material things mean fuck all. And yeah, I think we were talking about cars, because, you know, I've obviously gone through a life of saying, oh, I want to get this Ferrari, I want to get this Lamborghini. And now I'm living in Dubai. I've actually not had a car for the last 14 or 15 months. And I always say I love my life in the back of an Uber. You know, because ultimately those things have never made any difference, or I thought they made the difference, but they didn't. So I guess I'm probably going off on a bit of a tangent, but I just, you know, like I say, as cliched as it is, I'm always happy, I'm always in a good mood, and I just want to be, you know, around people that I enjoy being with, that ultimately make me better, and I guess that is my vision. Yes, obviously my vision includes, you know, making money, growing businesses, you know, doing ideas and stuff. But I think as well now, a lot of the business things I do aren't so much about the money in isolation. Well, they'll probably know about the money in isolation, because, you know, I normally start doing something that I just want to do before I actually know how I'm going to monetize it. I just like to, you know, like to solve a problem, or prove someone wrong, even if that someone is myself. And, you know, yeah, I don't know if that answers your question.
Yeah, it's a good answer. I'd love to challenge.
You've motivated Steph.
To speak.
Go on.
So it is a very happy person. If I'm ever stressed with stuff at work, or feeling, I don't know, like sometimes we are in a very high pressured environment, and it just gets too much, is the first person that I ring or go out for lunch with, and gets the motivation back. So I have like a couple of bad days, give him a call and have a nice long chat, and then it's back at full steam ahead.
Yeah, that's amazing. Same for me. You know, if I'm ever having a problem, anything business related, all I have to do is spend an hour with Matt, and I'll just realize my problem is not a fucking problem. And if he can have his problems and be so chilled out, what is my excuse? I'd love to challenge you on that vision, though, because obviously I'm all about, you know, like making a difference and stuff, and you're already doing it. Just to give you clarity around what you're already doing it, to say it, you know, from an, I guess, objectional point of view, part of your vision is what you're already doing is showing people that you can be really fucking successful and also really fucking happy at the same time, because this is a real limiting belief. Most people that I've worked with, and it's the reason why we're great friends and not clients, or you know, coachee, is because you're successful and happy. And I've said to Matt multiple times, you know, he's a great example of being happy now. A lot of people are like, I'll be happy when I have this, I'll be happy when I have that. And that's been most of my private clients, not all, but most. And I think that a great message for you in terms of having a global vision, rather than just doing your business or being happy yourself, is keep doing what you're doing and show people that you do not have to delay your happiness. You can chase success, you can chase money, boats, cars, or whatever, but fucking be happy anyway. And that's you've really been, honestly, sincerely, you've been a role model for me in that.
Well, thank you. Yeah. I'm conscious of everyone's time, but I just want to answer. So there's two things I want to say in there. Firstly, you know, JP says, you know, I can be an example of being successful and being happy. And I think I would say you can't differentiate the two. I don't think you are successful unless you are happy. And I think, you know, we all have our metrics of success, but quite often, certainly historically, maybe a bit less so now, because I think we're, let's say, in the social media world where people talk about other qualities so much more that we probably listen to things that we didn't listen to before. But finance has always been that stereotypical metric of success. It's like, you know, you talk about, oh, that guy's so successful, that guy's so successful, and it's, you know, success and the finance come hand in hand. And I honestly, I guarantee you that I could probably say 90% of the people that I know, 99% of the people I know who've got so much more money than me, I wouldn't swap my life with them for all the tea in China. And I think, you know, and whether that's, you know, you say, well, he's so successful because he's the world's best golfer, or he's so successful because, I don't, you know, he's made this money, or he's done this thing. I think, you know, unless you are happy, then all of the other stuff is completely irrelevant. So that's what I was going to say about Steph. Success and happiness. And the thing I was going to say, what Steph said, and you about problems, is because ultimately, honestly, you know, when I look at any problem, I always say, what's the worst outcome of any problem? And there's probably two, I'd say. Bankruptcy and say again. Well, but even take that as a problem. I was going, the worst outcome of any problem is bankruptcy or death. I always think so no matter how stressed we are, what's going to be the end result of this? Is it going to bankrupt me, or is it going to kill me? And I always think, if it, you know, and of those two things, you know, death is obviously worse than bankruptcy, just because I haven't experienced the death part yet. But you know, having been through the bankruptcy, I can tell you that isn't as bad as it was either. So I look at everything and think, is it going to kill me? Is it going to bankrupt me? If it's neither of those two things, then it's probably solvable in some kind of way. Or if it isn't solvable, does it really fucking matter? And I think that ultimately, that's why I never feel stressed about things. Not because they aren't stressful situations, because that's a lie. So I do get stressed about many things, but I don't let it overpower me, because I think, you know, there's either I've been through it before and I know an answer. So when Steph will ring me about something, she's probably ringing me because I know the answer to something that she doesn't know the answer to. You know, whether that's, you know, psychologically or experientially or whatever. So I can answer that. But if I don't know the answer, then I'm sure somebody else does. And I think, you know, that's why, you know, nowadays, now I understand the concept of mentors or you know, like support people around me. That's why I would, you know, let's say officially seek people out. I think historically I'd never, you know, in my 20s or whatever, I didn't know what a mentor was, but I would naturally, let's say, attract myself to people who would know more than me or could better me in some way, shape or form. And for me that's the, you know, that really is the answer, that every problem you've got, someone has been through before, and other than the death one, you know, nothing else really matters.
And the only thing that matters in 10 seconds is, like you said, happiness. I have studied personal happiness all of my adult life. And out of everyone I've ever worked with, one to many, one to few, one to one, the end result has always been, I want that because it will make me happy. So here's a cheat sheet for life. If being successful will make you happy, if you can be happy now, you're already successful. And that is the trick to life, to be happy now. Because if you're doing what you love and being happy now, you feel successful every day, if you can be happy. Anyway, guys, thank you, Matt. Thank you so much.
Cheers, buddy. Thank you.
I've definitely got a fine.
Thank you.
Cheers, everyone.